I'm Lon VomBaur. I'm a general contractor and I'm the owner of Rocktop Construction. I often get asked the question, how did you end up being a general contractor? And my story isn't a typical one. There's a lot of guys that I love working with in the industry that's just started out swinging a hammer, maybe before they were even out of high school, and eventually that led them to ownership of a trade, but they started out getting very familiar with that trade before they ever went that direction. My story is a bit different. I did help my father build houses when I was young, and after high school I wanted to go to college. I ended up going into the Marine Corps Reserves, and then later on I went on active duty. I got commissioned, and I spent over 30 years in the Marine Corps. I still had this passion. I was drawing blueprints when I was in the 7th grade, and I worked on military construction projects as an agent of the government. And it wasn't until I retired from the Marine Corps that I finally got a chance to do what I really wanted to do all my life. And so it's a little bit different. I didn't grow up learning certain ways to do certain things, so I've never been in the box. I don't have trouble thinking outside the box because I've never been in it. One example that's actually happened to me more than once, somebody had a balcony over part of their house, and it's a few decades old. It's leaking inside the house. And I get referred by someone, and they call me up and say, somebody told me you might be able to help me with this problem. I can't get a contractor to even give me an estimate. Nobody wants this job. Well, of course they don't, because it's not what they've always done. And, you know, if you want to maximize your margins, then you want to get really good at one thing, and you just want to do that one thing all the time. Well, that isn't what I want to do. I would be bored to tears doing one thing all the time. I'll take risks. I'll do things that haven't been done before, and they don't know what's under those layers, so they don't want to tackle it. It's a good way to lose money, honestly, but it's also a good way to have fun solving a problem, and that's what I like to do. So we tear off the layers and we discover what's under there, and then I come up with solutions that nobody thinks of, and I didn't know how it's normally done. That makes it easier for me to think of things that haven't been done before. And so I've solved a few problems with decks, and I look forward to challenges. I love it when somebody says they don't know how to do this, or nobody wants to do it. That just makes me want to do it more. So some of the projects that I've enjoyed most are remodels. I had a 1942 in Ogden, and honestly, it would have been much easier to start out with blueprints from the ground up. But they loved this little house, and I had to tear away the sidewalks, the driveway. I had to gut the plumbing and electrical, of course. We found asbestos in the attic. We had to get rid of that. We found out there was never insulation underneath the siding of the house. The HVAC system wasn't that old, but all the venting made it, maybe a hobbit could have lived down there, but nobody else. We had to get rid of the venting, put in mini splits, and it turned out so beautiful. One of my favorite reviews is from this couple from that 1942 house. Even the concrete walls and the slab in the basement were cracked and leaking water while we were there, and there was no footings. So we had to get some specialists in there to drill holes in the cracks and put this foam behind there to solidify everything to make it a sound house. But it turned out beautiful, where there were some walls between the kitchen and living room was opened up, and there was this brick from the chimney, and it was just so much fun. It was so much fun to see their faces when we were done. When I started out in construction, the very first thing I started doing was roofs, and it seems pretty simple. You know, roofs are shingles, right? Well, it turns out there's more to it than meets the eye. Shingles meet the eye, but there's things underneath it. It's actually a roof system, and there's new code for the decking of what should be underneath the underlayments, and there's different types of underlayments and layers and ways of protecting that roof. There's products like Valley Metal that makes it impervious to wear in a place that's very vulnerable, but the eaves are also vulnerable. There's new types of ventilation, and almost all roofs have exhaust, which is turtle vents, box vents, ridge vent, whirlybirds, gable vents. That's all exhaust. They're missing an important thing. Exhaust doesn't work without intake, and there are code requirements to put soffit vents in to allow air in the last recent decades, but they're all covered up. with insulation. So that means there's no intake. That means the exhaust systems aren't working. There's a number of problems with that. The manufacturer's warranty is void because the shingles weren't properly installed. There's moisture getting trapped in the attic. There's ice damming in the winter. It melts at the top, freezes at the bottom, and causes all the leaking in the eaves. And of course, there's your energy inefficiencies in the summer when that air can't get out. And people think, heat rises, why doesn't the air go out? With the hot air with the exhaust systems, you have to have intake for exhaust to work. My favorite analogy is open a bottle of ketchup. Does it come out? No, gravity isn't enough. You get an air bubble in the back, it comes out. It's the same thing with the roof. Heat doesn't rise without intake. So there's a company called Lamanco that has a product like this. It comes in 4-foot lengths, and you make slots on the lower part of the roof, just above the insulation. And when you install as many square inches of intake as you had for exhaust, slightly more, then the air moves out and it solves that problem. And it's a simple but ingenious little system that allows the air in. And we can pan out and we can show you a couple of roofs that show what that looks like. I have the house across the street that has it, and this house I'm standing in front of also has that above. And it's not very expensive. It saves you money. It doubles the life of the shingles if you just put intake with the exhaust system. And it's hard to find roofers that know what it is and how to do it, believe it or not. It's not something building inspectors check. They'll make a big deal out of, you've got 11 feet between two outlets, put another one in the middle, code says 10. They don't look up in the attic and see there's no light showing that there's air coming in. If you look in your attic and you don't see light underneath, that means there's no intake. And I don't know why that's not an important thing on the checklist, but it's an important thing for you as a consumer to have proper attic ventilation. Some people may ask, why work with Rock Top Construction? Is that company a good match for me? And the answer may be no. It depends. Do you want to do a large development where you maximize dollar per square foot and you get the work done rapidly and maybe nobody even knows who's doing the labor? Not a good match. Not a good match for me. I vet my subcontractors, and if somebody should say, does size matter? Well, yeah. In this case, I say it's very important because I want my subcontractors to be big enough to handle the job, but they also need to be small enough that the ownership is involved and that they take pride in their work. This is so important. When somebody that's shown me what they do is saying, look, I did this, I did this, I did this. It's their art. They're proud of it. They know who did it and they know how they did it. And if you want good quality work, then that would be a good reason to work with Rock Top Construction. When I help somebody with a build, I think, what would I want? And of course, they know things about their budget and things like that I don't. But what I look for is something that is going to last a long time and something that is low maintenance. That is the difference between lowest price and best value. And best value will save you money in the long run. That's what I would want, and that's what I like to share.